Hello and welcome to this mini series. And in this mini series, I'm going to try and teach you some very interesting tactics in the King's Indian defense. But who's going to be our main coach for this? The one and only Hikaru Nakamura. And we're going to take a look at some of his games, some of his best games in the King's Indian defense, and see what we can learn from the way he plays his opening. Now, it's a very exciting opening, the King's Indian defence, and if you want to try to win with black, then it's maybe a good opening to try. So the way you start off is by bringing your knight out, and then fianchettoing your kingside bishop. So this game is incredibly complicated, but I want to share it with you because it's so beautiful. And Hikaru's opponent is the very strong player, Boris Gelfand, who has fought for the World Championships as well. So he's no mug, as we say in England. And now the King's Indian defence starts with this setup of fianchettoing. And now after e4, you play d6. There's a lot of setups that white can try here, but we're going to concentrate on the main line at the moment. And that is with knight to f3, black now castles, and white just continues his development with bishop e2. So this setup you see here is quite cramped for black because white clearly has this big space advantage in the center here, as we can see, these three pawns controlling the center of the board. But black will aim to counterattack against the center and on the king side. That's why I love the opening, because you often get some very exciting kingside attacks. So one of the main moves you must play is e5 in the King's Indian defense. And this is still following well-known theory. Actually, up to move 20, we follow theory. Now, white can try taking on e5, but this doesn't win a pawn, because even though white takes here, black takes back, and let's say something like knight takes e5 at some moment, white wins a pawn temporarily, but with the move knight takes e4, which is a counter tactic, black wins back the pawn with an equal game. And when you're black, if you get an equal game, you should be quite happy. So the main line is what was played here. Gelfand just castles. Black now brings his knight out to c6, and white pushes on d5. The knight retreats, and we have this very important pawn structure. This is so important if you want to learn the King's Indian defense. This is your main pawn structure you will get. White often aims to attack with c5 at the correct moment, as we will see, and black's attack often revolves around the move f5, so you have to make this move possible, and Hikaru gives us a great demonstration of what you should be doing in this opening. And this was played by Bobby Fischer. Before Fischer, there was lots of great players I can mention. I mean, there was Tao, there was, I could go on, but, lots of the Russian players played this idea. And, of course, Kasparov used to play this. So it's an opening for aggressive players. So now white moves his knight, and I'm going to explain each move very briefly. This is to be able to play f3 to defend the pawn structure, and the knight can also come over to c4. Black now moves his knight away to get ready to play f5. You need to play this break to create counterplay. White attacks on the queen side, black attacks on the king side, and now white gets his break in, but black's also got his break in. Knight to f6, increasing the pressure. White plays f3 to try to keep his pawn structure intact. Black now plays f4, a typical push once that white has played this f3 move. And now black's aim is simple: g5, g4, checkmate at the right moment. And this is still following theory. White keeps pressurizing on the queen side. His main breakthrough point is going to try and be the d6 square. So, of course, g5. And now we have a race situation. White slugging on the queen side, black slugging on the king side. So it's a fascinating battle, and this is what attracts a lot of people to this opening. So white continues pushing on this side of the board, and now a very standard maneuver here, knight to g6. Because as well as attacking, you sometimes have to take time out to defend. And the point of this is after bishop a3. So we can see white is getting ready to break through here. We see a standard defensive yet attacking setup from black here. And that's rook f7. You need to know this move in order to play the King's Indian. And this is getting ready to go bishop f8, so you're rearranging your rook and bishop. Your bishop helps defend this square. Sometimes it can pop out into the game. And your rook wants to come to g7, lining up against the king, getting ready to play g4. Now, one of the very interesting things I want to mention about this is if you look at Komodo's assessment at the top, it gives white's position as nearly a winning advantage, +1. And so many people that I come across, they think that computer's assessment is God. And they basically say, oh, the computer says it's +1, it must be winning, I'm not going to play it, even though these guys who say this sometimes don't understand anything about the position. Now, don't get carried away with a computer assessment. Understand the ideas. Computer assessment is not going to help you get better. And it's amazing how many players tell me, like, what you're saying is stupidity, because Komodo says it's +1. I'm saying, okay, well, show me why. And they have no idea how to. They have no idea what they're talking about. They're just regurgitating this assessment up here. And that makes me, like, really cross, actually. You know, you've got to understand the positions. And as Hikaru shows us here, it's not just about the assessment. Let's see. Well, white continues with b5, and now black takes on c5, and after bishop takes c5, this is a new way of playing the position from black. He keeps his bishop f8 move in store. He attacks h5, a5 from white, g4, b6. So both sides going at each other. And now g3. So the thing I love about this as well from black's perspective is if black lands the killer blow, it's checkmate. If white lands a blow on the queen side, he just wins a little bit of material. Now the main idea here is to move the knight on f6 and go queen h4, queen takes h2, checkmate. For example, this would be a very powerful idea against something like pawn takes a7. We simply now go something like knight d7, and we go queen h4, next move, and if h3, it's very important to keep this bishop on c8, because this bishop is needed to sacrifice itself on h3. This is why this bishop is kept in the King's Indian defense. So king h1 played by Gelfand, and the idea is the bishop can come back to g1. Bishop f8, now played by Hikaru. There is a lovely idea with knight h7 here. I'm just going to leave you with a thought. There's been some games here with d6, queen h4, bishop g1, and now bishop to h3. Incredible position. Now get ready to pause this video. There is only one move that white can play here, but if white plays without thinking and he takes on c7, getting two connected passed pawns, black can force checkmate. So pause the video now and see if you can find a solution to this. Black can force checkmate with one of the most beautiful ideas I've seen in modern chess. So just pause the video here and have a go. But Hikaru did not play this. Instead of playing knight to h7, which is a standard idea because, again, you see the queen is needed over here, Hikaru played bishop to f8. Now, d6 was played, and here Hikaru took on b6 first, and the bishop retreated back to g1, and here knight to h4. And really, Hikaru's got to throw everything at the white position, and now he's lining up on g2. Now, an interesting novelty here, something that I prepared a long time ago, and this is a novelty on move 22. So, you know, but if you know the ideas, you can still have fun with this opening, is the move h4, which I don't think is being played yet. And this has the fantastic idea, which I found, of that if white takes on c7, threatening your queen, you can now play h3, a fantastic move, unbelievable. And the point being, if white now takes the queen and gets two queens, wow, we take on g2 check, king takes, knight to h4 check, only one move, king h1, and now Gary the g-pawn delivers the blow, g2 checkmate, fantastic. But of course white can defend better than this. But let's see how Hikaru did it. He went knight h4, and now the game continued rook e1, a slight mistake. Hikaru took on g2, giving up material just to force through the attack. White took on c7, and now a great move from Hikaru. Knight takes e1. It's similar to the idea I just showed you. Even though the queen is on pre, Gary the g-pawn wants to deliver checkmate. So we have to do something about that. So white takes the knight, so at least g2 is not checkmate anymore. Black plays it anyway to open up lines on the king side, and when you're attacking you need to open up lines, and it's a race here. Will black's attack land in time? Rook g7 check, king h1, and when you're attacking, what should you do? You should always try to create threats. And look at this position, it's amazing because the queen is on pre here. It's being attacked here, but you don't need to move it. Bishop h3, and when you're attacking, it's all about tempo. Try not to lose any time. Try to find ways to create threats. And here the threat is bishop g2 checkmate, so white can't take the queen. Bishop to f1, one of the only ways to stop checkmate, and now another brilliant move. Always think of going forwards, always thinking of attacking. Queen into d3, unbelievable. Because if bishop takes queen, bishop g2 is checkmate. So you're trying to distract the bishop away from this square. Amazing combinations here. White tries to defend with knight takes e5, but now bishop takes f1, and again Hikaru leaves his queen on pre for about the umpteenth time. So if the queen is taken, bishop g2 is checkmate yet again. So white decided to take on f1, but now after queen takes c3, and now real difficult position here. Rook c1 was tried from white. The black queen just took the knight, and we had some forced moves here. But basically, in this position, after the move, queen e6, we can see that Hikaru is a piece up, and Gelfand resigned. So I think that was an amazing demonstration of the power of black's kingside attack. And Hikaru really played that in, I think, shall we say, just a fantastic and absolutely brilliant way, with this aggressive idea, just pushing g4, g5, aiming for g2. And that's our first lesson and our first demonstration of Hikaru Nakamura playing the King's Indian defense in an amazing way. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you liked it, I'll try to make some more. Bye for now.